Okay, I'm back, and I decided to actually print out what I wrote some time ago about is it real or is it just carnal? And this is again posted on MySpace on our blog. So if you know our MySpace address, and you can also go to our channel page and get our MySpace link. And I printed it out, so I'm gonna have to read a little bit of it, and we can go on talking from there. Okay, let's see. Okay, I'm just going to read it straight, and I may repeat something that I just said. We're living in the reality generation. Everything has to be real, or this generation just won't buy it anymore. My ministry has been allowed to even be real about the way we operate in the spirit and in the way we interact with God's people. In fact, I even sing with a group named For Real. In fact, that is one of the groups that I sing with. So if y'all watching, hey, this is a shout out to For Real. I love y'all. I'll see y'all soon. Okay, so I'm all for being real. I'm all for relaxing and enjoying every dimension of who God has created me to be. However, I'm disturbed by what's being allowed for the sake of being real. Some stuff is not real. It's just plain old carnal, sinful, and wrong. And I know we don't hear much of that being preached now. I've seen so much carnality being passed off for just keeping it real until it makes me wonder what we're trying to prove. I'm not interested in performing a tightrope act with my salvation, trying to step on the line without crossing over into the danger zone. Don't we still have to flee from the very appearance of evil? Yes. Don't we still have to guard our hearts and our spirit? Yes, we do. And that's something that does not and will not change. I don't care what the trend of the moment is. I'm fashion conscious. I love to rock the latest styles. I try to keep my vocabulary current. I love the latest hairdos and accessories too. But what is real is salvation, relationship with God, our witness to the world, our walk before people behind the scenes, integrity, character, humility, my love for God and His people, a heart for worship, a passion for purpose and destiny, a call to the kingdom, and the mandate to live holy. And in my attempts to keep it real, I got to make sure I keep it holy. I don't want my realness to be a stumbling block for others. And here is what the Word of God says. In 1 Corinthians 10 and 23, it says, all things are lawful for me, but all things are not expedient. All things are lawful for me, but all things edify not. And this is what it says in 1 Corinthians 8 and 9. But take heed, lest by any means this liberty of yours become a stumbling block to them that are weak. So there is still a real standard of holiness that we have to uphold, and that's what's real. Selah. And that's how I ended that. And I want to just kind of open that discussion up. I think sometimes we get lost in trying to be real and trying to be current with what's going on in the generation until we forget about the fact that we still got to be holy. And so, yeah, we do have to understand that we have a spirit and we do have flesh, and those things war against each other. And there are times in which you have to acknowledge what your flesh is doing, but yet you don't let it rule you. So you do have fleshly emotions. You do have fleshly feelings. You've got things that happen in your fleshly nature, in your Adamic nature, as I said earlier, in another blog. But at the same time, you can't let those things rule you. You can't let those things control you. And I think this generation has a problem because we think, well, if I want to do it, then I'm just gonna be real. I'm keeping it real, But we don't realize that what we're doing is not pleasing to God. And sometimes our keeping it real is going against what the Word of God tells us to do. For instance, I'll just use an example. Right here on YouTube, if someone says something that we don't appreciate, One of the things that I've seen Christians do, now I can't talk about the world because the world is going to act like the world acts. But one thing that I see Christians doing on YouTube, when things happen, we encounter a conflict. Instead of talking intelligently about a conflict, we will go to using choice words. And I say choice words because we choose to use profanities or words very close to them. Let's see, another thing, we endlessly argue back and forth. I believe that there's nothing wrong with stating a point and making sure that point is being clearly made. But once that point has been made and someone disagrees with you over and over and over again, eventually you might have to just walk away from that conversation. Lord, help us. I'm saying us right there. Because some people can really draw you into a debate and really draw you into a conflict. But a lot of times when we're being drawn into debating and conflicting, and people enjoy debates. That's why we have debate teams, even coming up in school. And so people enjoy debate, and I don't think anything is wrong with a good, healthy conversation. But when that conversation gets out of hand and you got to post up videos cussing folk out, and come on. And we call it, oh, I'm just being real. No, you're just being carnal. We got to make sure we don't do that because we do represent the kingdom. And this is what the unbeliever wants to do. The world wants to say, oh, you're supposed to be a Christian. They'll see what the world will do. They'll pull you into a fight. And then when you actually jump back, they'll say, aha, I told you weren't saved, but you said you were. So we got to get a little smarter than that. We got to watch out for that stuff. It's all right to state your opinion. It's also okay to stand your ground because we have to stand for the word of God. We've got to stand for what is right. And I stand my ground. Yes, I do. But at the same time, when you have taken that stand and when you have made your point loud and clear, it's all right to walk away and say, okay, for the sake of my witness, for the sake of the kingdom, for the sake of the fact that I'm representing Jesus Christ, I'm going to just agree to disagree. Can we work on that, YouTube? Anyway, so that's my take on, is it real or is it carnal? And I could go into much more detail and many more examples, but I want to open up that discussion to you. So here's a chance where you comment back to me. I'm listening, and I want to hear what you've got to say. Again, thank you, Trey, for confirming this idea that I had. I believe it was a God idea and not just a good idea to have a discussion about carnality versus reality. And thank you for confirming that. All right, good night, YouTube.